Okay, hi Whisper. I think we spoke about this at some point regarding dreams, decisions, and the head of the house, navigating gender roles in African marriages. So
Right.
just looking at the African setup, the traditional expectation of men as a leader, that means once you get married, or
Hmm.
when a man marries a woman, he becomes the head, he leads and all of that. But
Right.
where do we draw the line, or does it even make sense to to draw the line if the woman have got dreams? For
Hmm.
example, if I want to become the president,
Hmm.
right? What
Yes.
happens? Do you lead on my dreams? Are you the one who decides whether I should do it or not? How does that work?
You know, thank you so much for having me. It's a very interesting discussion and a very hot topic in the African communities, but one that's very necessary, to discuss and keep on discussing it. Today, it's an opportunity for us to, run through, maybe just share our thoughts. But again, it's a long topic. We may not be
That's
able
true.
to exhaust it today. But look, the question that you've asked is very important. For me, I think the key thing is that when a woman and a man, decide to get married, they then become one flesh. They become one. So
Okay.
the most important thing is the mission.
All
Okay,
right.
what is the mission for this family? All right. So if a man is the head, for the head to stand strong, it needs the neck, right? Because
Okay.
without that, the head then falls apart. The head needs the neck. So just because you are the head of the household, it does not necessarily mean that you detect, what the other part needs to do, but they're coming in to support each other because everyone brings something on the table,
Mm-hmm.
both parties. What is important is to then support each other's dreams, visions, in the way they want to see themselves. But remember, the bigger picture of all this is so that uh, as a family, the family then achieves their mission. The mission is the most important thing. So it's not about this individual or that individual. The
Okay.
mission now becomes for both, of these two people that have come together to start a family. So everyone is going to play a role. Um, and also, maybe let me just say this that the reason why there's a lot of fighting around this particular subject is because the decisions, in most cases, especially from men, do not come from a place of love and respect.
Right.
That that is where the problems are. Because surely there is nothing and absolutely nothing wrong for a woman to have dreams or aspirations to become a president or to become a business person or whatever they want to become. But again, like what I said earlier, that whatever that activity or whatever this woman is doing,
Mm-hmm.
at the heart of that is the family or the mission of the family. Is it is it coming in to support the mission of the family? This is
Okay.
important
So who
because if it is
decides the
just
mission of the family?
okay, so again, very important question. So who
Yeah.
decides the mission of the family? This is where now, when and again, I've seen this happening a lot. Most of us or most people, when they start choosing a partner, they
Mm-hmm.
do not run through these things very well because uh, you know people are just not opening up a lot. I don't know
Selfish.
if yeah, I don't know if this is because of cultural our cultural background, etc. People don't talk about these things well enough before they get married. So what usually happens is that people who then discover these things when they are now married to
That's
say
right.
that the mission or what I want to achieve and what my partner or my wife, husband wants to achieve, it's like the difference is like day and night.
That's
But
true.
the difference is so huge, but it's because these things have not been discussed when people were when people started seeing each other. Again, so there's this culture where these things are not discussed. It's almost like, no, I'm looking for a husband. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that is the objective. The
Okay.
fact that this particular husband, you know, may not have the same mission with you, it's not an important subject because right now the focus is I want to get a husband,
I want to get
right?
a husband. Yeah. And
I
I've
want to get a
also
husband.
seen culturally, we always say "Rinonyenga rinowara rinosunza musoro rawana," anditi,
There you go.
which is
There you
one of
go.
the biggest problems. Like
Mm,
you agree to certain
mm.
things before you get
Yes,
married and say,
yes,
nah, it's fine, but not fully knowing that's not what you want. And I've
yes,
also seen something that people will say they want a certain type of woman, but go
yes,
for the opposite type of woman and try to change that person. It also
yes.
goes with women. You see a guy who drinks a lot, but
Mhm.
you tell yourself, I will change him. You don't want a guy, you want a guy who goes to church. You tell yourself, I will take him to church. Why can't you just go to church and look for the person that you want? So I think the mission
Mhm.
becomes sort of one-sided or not
Mhm.
clear enough because of
Right.
you just mentioned that there is not enough conversations that happens
Yes,
before people get married, or there might be conversations but people agree to certain things because they just want to get married, but after
that's
marriage
right.
the reality comes in.
Yes, 100%. So the euphoria of, so, when people are thinking about let's get married, there's this euphoria and excitement around marriage. People are thinking about, the dress, how they're gonna, look on the wedding day, all these nice things. And there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong to look at those things. But I'm saying there's much more deeper things that needs to be discussed before people commit, because if you look at most of these problems is that when then people are now in the marriage, that's when they realize that, by the way, we don't agree on this matter. I don't We don't
Mm-hmm.
agree on this matter. But also there's another aspect of this. The way we were brought up plays a critical role,
That's
because
right.
if I grew up in a certain, you know, uh, you know, with a certain background, and all I saw my parents doing is this is how things are done. My idea of a marriage is exactly that.
That's true.
Unfortunately, you stick with it, and I realize, these things sometimes we say, it's fine. I want to change, but th these things are in your subconscious. They're stuck with you. It's a lot. Um, so you are programmed in such a way that you just naturally act that way, not
Hmm.
because of anything, but because that's what's
That
been
was
drilled in your
exposed to you. Yeah. I
and
grew
it's
up
now in
in
your
a home.
subconscious.
Yeah, I grew up in a home where my father
Mhm.
was working, right? But my
Yes,
mom was doing her
yes,
thing, going all
yes,
out, doing some business and all that. To me, that's
right.
the idea of how
Yes,
things should be. It's true. It
there you
plays
go.
your background or how you were brought up and what you
Mhm.
saw plays a very
Mhm.
important role. There is nobody
Correct.
who can come today and convince me to be a stay-at-home wife. It
Exactly.
will never. They
There you
say
go.
never say never. It will never work because my
Exactly.
subconscious will always remind me
Exactly.
this is how it should be. And sometimes it's not more of hustling your life away and all of that. It's actually
Yes.
shaping. You look at
Yes.
what how your mother did it, and then you
Mhm.
want to be better than that. You
Correct.
you start because of education, more exposure, skill
Mhm.
sets, and all that.
Mhm.
You start
Mhm.
looking at other avenues. Okay, I can do this, I can do that. So sometimes
Right.
when I see fights in certain relationships where
Yes.
people say That's how it was always. Women will stay at home, raise kids, and men will go to work. I don't relate. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's right.
So
That's
it
right.
becomes a
So
bit of a challenge.
it does. It does. So again, the way you grew up and what you were exposed to creates your reality, creates your destiny. So it becomes very difficult to change that overnight,
Yeah,
especially if these things are not discussed prior
that's true.
to getting into long marriages. This is why it's such an important thing to discuss these things to get to understand. But it's a pity and it's unfortunate that we don't live in a perfect world
Yeah.
where people have time for most of these things to fall into place, to go and see someone, how they grew up, all these things. It's not easy. Usually there's no time for all these things.
Oh,
But
that's right.
these are traits that then becomes part of who you are. And you try to learn or unlearn some of these things. But again, it now depends on the two individuals to say, what type of family do we want to create? you know and again, it's important to understand that the discussion and decisions you then make comes from a place of respect and of love to say no, because you and I are now one, and I believe in you and I love you, so I'm going to support your dreams. I'm going to support the things that you like. Okay, it has to come from a place of love and respect. It
I also,
cannot come from a
yeah,
place
go
of
ahead.
demand, from a place of demand and say, no, these are the rules in this household. It's this way or the highway. You see, once it becomes that, then it creates problems.
Yeah, that's true. But how does that really work? I mean, in terms of well, I'm just referring to our people as black people,
Yes,
right?
yes,
When you
yes.
look at black men,
Hmm.
do you guys feel
Hmm.
secure and your self-esteem is not gonna be threatened or your ego and pride when your woman's dreams are bigger than yours? I'll give you an example. When you are
Hmm.
asked as a woman, when we are asked out there,
Yes,
when I
yes,
mean when I was
yes,
still in the market. What
yes,
what what was going on is that guys will come and
yes.
ask. The first thing that they was asking me is like, yeah, with all the things that you talk about and do, will you
Mm,
really respect me? Will you see me
mm,
as the man of the house? Like they
mm.
already came with an idea
Right.
that I'm because of who I am and what I thrive to be, it will be a
Yeah.
problem to their position as a man. So that's the first thing they try and ask. And sometimes in these Pan-African groups, you just hear guys say, I don't believe a woman should be a leader. So when a men have got that mentality that they don't
Mm,
actually believe that a woman can be a leader, which means a leader in business,
mhm,
a leader in a political position. And one guy
mhm.
said he doesn't want his any of his women to have more money than him. So if he is to date somebody, that person who should be earning less. So it's coming from a position of trying to position yourself using money,
Mhm,
status, wealth, and all that. So, how do you then support a woman
mhm.
who have got bigger dreams, like I mentioned, being a president? How do you
Right.
support? How do we come to that agreement to be on the
Mhm.
same mission when
Right.
there is this egos, pride,
Mm,
low
mm.
self-esteem?
Right. So yeah. So this is a very interesting question. So again, it goes back to so you see, when people understand that we are getting into this relationship because our mission is one, whatever we do, it's for the family, it's for our kids, it's for what we're doing. You will never feel threatened by your spouse making more money or getting a bigger job because you know that this is for us, this is for the family because our mission is one. So
Yeah,
that should never be a threat. You know, when you now see it as a threat like that, and you think that I don't want my spouse to earn more money than me,
Hmm.
it's going to be a problem, then it means that there's a misalignment of that relationship from the way it's structured from the onset.
That's
You
right.
know, there's no alignment, from that point of view. Because when if there's an alignment of the mission of what we want to do as a family, then more money is good for us. Then because it means we can achieve goals together as a family and so on and so forth. So that should never be a problem. Just to also talk about this, the idea that women should not take leadership roles, I think it's fraud. It's wrong. If you look at what is currently happening in Namibia, we've got one of the Namibian president, Nandi, who just came now.
Yeah,
She's doing an amazing job. No,
that's right.
fantastic. We have heard, Nkosazana Zuma here in South Africa holding powerful positions. Naledi Pandor, the president of Tanzania. There's so many examples.
Hmm.
Even we saw Kamala Harris running, and she had a very supporting spouse, by the way. We saw people like uh, you know uh, Clinton, running. Uh, you
That's
know,
right.
Hillary Clinton. Running. There's nothing wrong. Margaret Thatcher. She was one of the powerful leaders, and she was a woman. So for me, this idea, that women can't do this, can't do that. Again, it's just it's not coming from a good place from a lot of people. It's coming
Yeah,
from a place of um, I want of control. You know,
yeah,
a place of control, not a place of love and respect. For me, that's what it comes down to. So it's important to align on the mission with people before you even start walking. Because
yeah.
basically what we are saying is that before we start this journey, we need to agree from day one to say, this is what we are going to do, this is how we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, right?
Hmm.
Because what usually happens, people say, oh no, no, let's walk. And halfway along the way, that's when these types of things start coming up
Yeah, yeah.
and it
There's
creates
you
problems.
start to see things like that. But quite interesting is that I've worked
Mm,
with guys who would just be like, my wife doesn't want to to be here. I think you remember one of the meetings that I we had. You were on
mhm.
call. You were not there physically.
Yes,
With the team that we worked
yes,
we worked with.
yes.
A question was asked
Mhm.
by one of the gentlemen. They're like, "Why do we have one woman here? Where are
Right.
the women? We are talking about women inclusion and empowerment. How come we don't have too many women?" And I was asked, "Where are
Right.
the other women?" And I
Yes.
said to them, "It's because I'm single. That's
Mhm.
why I'm here. So it gives me the flexibility to do what I want and when I want."
Mhm.
And I didn't have responsibility. Some women have to stay at home to take care of kids and all that. So it's not because they don't want to do that, but the
Right.
responsibilities. But I also asked a question. All
Mhm.
of you gentlemen who are here seem to be married. Where are your wives?
Right.
So you see,
Right.
where are your wives? Whose wife do you want to empower when yours is not sitting at the table? So it
That's right.
becomes like we cannot discuss things of leadership position, women in leadership and women
Mm.
in power positions when we do
Mm.
not have that kind of setup. I like how white people do it.
Mm.
You go to most of their gatherings, it's husband and wife, husband and wife.
Right.
And sometimes they just be like, I cannot make a decision now. I have to run this with my wife. I always
Yes.
found it so beautiful. And most power couples that I've
Yes.
seen, they they
Mm.
operate in that manner. But
Correct.
then we have about Kiribet. Kiribet will be like, I don't want my wife to know that I'm doing business.
Yeah. You see. So you see, again, it comes down to the issue of the mission again.
That's right.
That the mission, for someone. So this is why you see, and you're right. For many years when I was, out there doing business, whether we're selling a product or a service, when you meet, the culture that you just mentioned now, usually white people, you meet them, they say, you know what, I like your product, okay, but I cannot make my I cannot buy it without speaking to my husband. Or you meet the husband, they say the same thing. I have to run through this with my wife, and then we'll decide.
Yeah,
Why? Because the mission is one. These guys are focusing on one mission.
that's
Whatever
true.
they do is for the family. But you see,
Yes.
when you now meet that other guy you just mentioned now, he's saying,
You
I
got
don't know, I
greeted.
don't want anyone to know. He is unsure. This guy is unsure of the type of future that he wants. In fact, this future is almost pay as you go. It
Yeah,
can be, but there's no guarantees that we are in all out until death do us apart. Do you
yeah,
understand what I'm saying? So there's a half mindset about this that okay, if things don't go this way, I'm gonna do. There's a backdoor mindset to say if this thing doesn't work, I'll do something else with someone else or with some other people, etc.
yeah.
The
The
mission
selfishness that we mentioned
exactly,
earlier.
and the commitment is not there. It's
Wow,
not there 100% because if the commitment is there 100% to say I've committed to this person, this is what we are doing, then firstly you want the best for them. Second, you support them no matter what because you know that whatever you are doing, it's good for them because when they are happy, I mean, if you love someone, you have to help them, achieve what makes them happy, right?
that's right.
That's what true love is. Sometimes at your expense to say, sometimes you sacrifice to say, I'm doing it not because I want to do it, but because that's what makes her or him happy, right?
That's
So you
true.
do it. So that's love. It's about sacrifices. It's about doing those types of things.
Yeah,
But
and
if you
yes, go
go ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is that, but if you now say no, they now she wants to run for president, I can't have that. But you see,
Hmm.
that's what makes her happy. Then that's not we are not reading from the same book of love
Yeah,
because
we're
love is
not on
about
the same position.
exactly of supporting your partner, your spouse to achieve whatever they want to achieve. That's your
That's
role
true.
as a partner or as a
Yeah.
spouse,
And
right?
looking at what happened during COVID, people
Mhm.
lost jobs. So you would
Yes.
find a situation where a man would say, I'm the one who should be working. As long as I provide, why should you
Mhm.
worry? Then COVID happened and cut off jobs. Now you are
Mhm.
stuck husband and wife in the house and there's nothing to eat.
Exactly. So you raise a very important question there for all of us to learn from. And again, you know, very, very important. We've got all that example to ourselves to look at. When COVID happened, all of a sudden we realized that, we needed to have maybe two people in the family working. All
Yeah.
right. So why? Because if someone's income is not, happening or they has lost a job, because you have one mission, you still have the kids that you need to take care of, go to school, do these other things, etc.
Hmm.
The other part is going to come in now and become in handy and support because the mission, again, is for us to achieve. But again, to take it a little bit further, you
Yeah.
know, tomorrow is never guaranteed, right?
Hmm.
Tomorrow is never guaranteed. Now, what if one of the spouse or the spouses, one of them, passes on or gets involved in a tragic accident? Let's take a look at Sean Ferguson, for example. We
Hmm.
all loved Uncle Sean. We all loved him. With Connie Ferguson, they were a perfect couple, right? We
Yeah.
never expected anything or anything negative to. I mean, that he would pass on like what happened, but that's what ended up happening. Nobody saw that coming, but that's life, right? But now, if there's only one person, bringing in income, um, you know, then it changes the dynamics. Now all of a sudden, maybe you lose the home. If you still have kids going to school, now you have to
Their
go to the
whole
village,
legacy.
whatever. The whole legacy. Now you're not going to the village to meet Baba Mnini or Baba Guru who says, no, here things, we don't do that. It changes everything. So you
Yeah.
can't, if the mission was always the same for the two of you, you know what you want to achieve, whether I'm still around or you are not still around, whatever the case, we work together to achieve the mission so that
That's right.
there's continuity. This is why it's important to support each other's dreams and vision because the future depends on either I'm still around or you're not around, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But one of us can continue with the mission
With a
of
mission.
us. Exactly. That's what's important. So it comes down to, you know, are we on the same page on that? If we
Hmm.
are not on the same page on the mission and what we are trying to build for this family, it becomes very difficult to talk about all these other things because someone has got a very different mindset of what they see as family and what they see as the future.
That's true. So I think what is critical and what is important is to discuss these things to length and be honest with yourself and with each other before you get married. Be very
100%.
honest what you want to be, how you want it done. There are some men who
Yes.
just say, I want a woman who fall into my plans. And those women exist.
Yes.
You just go for that type of woman and say
Yes.
that's what I want. She just want to be at home and fall into my
Yes.
plans, or she must like what these guys say on social media, that you just start
Mhm.
a little business for your wife,
Yes.
that will just run to loss and she keep coming to you for money, things like that. There are women like that. Just go for that. And when it comes to women who are ambitious, who going for
Hmm.
certain things, don't even ask, will you reduce or shrink yourself so that I can
No,
fit in? Don't do that. Just let them fly. Leave them fly, and
100%.
you find your match.
You find your niche. And again, you are spot on there. You're 100%. So you see, before you take this thing further and commit, you know, these are the conversations that people must have to say, okay, what is your vision? Where do
Yeah.
you want to be, in life? Because you can't, meet someone very ambitious. They want to become uh, a writer, an actor, whatever they want to become, a businesswoman, whatever they want. And you say, no, in this, once you get married to me, you can't be this person.
Mm.
Then, for someone who is really driven, that becomes a deal breaker. They say, okay, you know what? Thank you very much. Nice meeting you. Cheers. Okay. There's no reason for you to stick into such a relationship from the onset when you fully know that, hey, my vision, these are the things that I want to do, these are the things I want to do. So it's important to discuss those things. But again, as Africans, sometimes we have this tendency of not discussing these issues,
Yeah, we
just
don't
laying
talk
them. We don't
communication.
talk about
Mm-mm.
them, the communication is not there. These things are left, to only explode after 4 or 5 years when people are in marriage to say, what is the big fight? No, he doesn't want me to do this. And he says, no, but I don't want a wife who does this. But you guys have been, how did you then even get married in the first place? Because you are like oil and water, you don't mix.
You
But
don't mix
there
it.
was
How
no,
did we get there? Yeah.
how did we get here?
Yeah.
Communication.
All right. Our time is running up, and thank you
Sure.
so much for joining us and being here. When it comes to these things, it's kind of difficult to even discuss, and also
Mm,
sometimes you can communicate, but
mm,
it depends on the person that you are talking to. There are
true.
people who have made up their mind about how things should be, how a woman
Mm,
should be, or how a man should be. And
mm,
those kind of people are not likely to change their mind. They might lie and try to compromise just to get what they
mm,
want. But along the
mm,
way, you begin to see that there was this dude who kept on like, no, I cannot ever be with a woman who do this or do that. So when the woman says no, he then change and say, it's fine. I'll accommodate that. It's okay as long as I'm with you. But that type of person will never change their original school of thought.
they will
Halfway,
never change.
you will
Yes.
see it coming. So some people will just be like, as a woman, you should know your ways around a man. You should know how to talk. The traditional man. Yeah.
Yes.
I,
Because the
I, I,
software,
I.
because you see, because the software, it's already it's been developed long time ago. It's in the
That's true.
subconscious.
That's
So
true.
what the hard way cannot change now, you know. So they will say, yeah, I'll change, I'll change, I'll change, I'll change, right? But the truth of the matter is, subconsciously, this person will never change. Why?
Yeah.
Because they are built that way. Why? Because they've been like this over the years, and this is why they're like that.
And when
So
they meet a
these are the realities.
Yeah, and when they meet a person they truly who tolerate whatever they are or whoever they are, they will go.
Yes,
That's just what it is. Because
100%.
you can then ask yourself, but we were together for 10 years. How can you just meet someone 2 weeks and they got married?
Exactly. You see, that's the thing is that the mission. So the issue was that they were never committed in the first place. They were just, saying, okay, for now we'll just do as we go. But
Yeah.
if something happens, I will change my mind. But if someone is fully committed from the onset, they will never do that. So
Yeah.
it's about that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. And I hope
It's
that
a pleasure.
young women and men can learn from this and surely build a better future, a better one more than our generation. And I just hope that they get to align. The mission should be in alignment where you bring whatever you want to bring in the relationship. If a man
Mm,
wants to be something and you want to be something, you come together and support each other's dreams. And that's just
mm,
what it is. Thank you so much.
100%. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers.